Could you explain to them about your war for terror speech? Why do you think, because they'd say, well, look at 9/11, look at this, how would you explain to them?
Well, okay, yeah, I mean, we get into also that speech is online, but when you get into the idea of us going around the world trying to be the world's police, how much time do we have? Let's just, people say, there's a lot of people that believe our foreign policy started on September 11, 2001. Those planes hit those towers, and that was the beginning of the United States being involved around the world. And what they don't understand is that we started around the world in Iraq, in Iran. In 1950s, we were in Iran. They had a democratically elected leader named Mossadegh. It wasn't he was democratically elected. Again, there's that word, but he was a good guy. And Iran at that time actually looked like, places in Iran looked like places in America. And this guy didn't wear, he was not a hardcore religious. There was no theocracy in Iran. But the reason is he decided that he didn't want British Petroleum to have the oil rights to Iran. He wanted Iran to have control of its own oil. Well, the next thing you know, and this is, information you can glean from just a Freedom of Information Act, but it's there, it's already out. It came out after 50 years, everything comes out. That we were actually in Iran. We sent our CIA to overthrow their democratically elected leader so that we could give the oil rights to BP. And that's what we did. So BP got the oil rights to Iran, but at the same time they got the Shah. The Shah of Iran goes to work destroying their constitution and destroying their democracy. And so this idea, and it goes on, I mean, we were there for Saddam Hussein, we were there for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. Ronald Reagan called the Mujahideen, which was Osama bin Laden's group, he called them the moral equivalent of our founding fathers. And he dedicated a space shuttle launch to them. But the leader of the Mujahideen was Osama bin Laden. So these kind of things, the Middle East sees these things. These people that live there see this, and all of them have said that the reason that they attacked us was our interventions into the Middle East in the first place. If we had not been there, if we'd not been doing the things that we were doing, they wouldn't attack us. And you can think, what would you do if Chinese troops were, I just like to say, there's these Chinese troops that patrol my neighborhood. And so I looked outside and they stopped my wife. And so I ran outside and I said, stop, stop. And they point their guns at me and I get on the gun. It sounds crazy because it is. Because if there was Chinese troops in America, I think probably half you guys at least, and me for sure, would be on top of your roof shooting the Chinese troops. If they were at the deli, I would go down to the deli and I would blow them up. I would do whatever I had to do to get those people out of my country. Matthew Ho, who worked for the State Department in Afghanistan, he was originally a Marine and he worked for the State Department in Afghanistan. Matthew Ho said he couldn't work for the State Department anymore because he was absolutely sure that there was only 100 to 300 members of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, and the rest of those people are fighting us in Afghanistan just because they don't want us there. That's the only reason that they're fighting us. So this is all from this War for Terror speech that's on my website if you'd like to go read it. But everything, the thing that scares me about it, and the thing I say before the speech is, it scares me that we don't all know this. It's just fact. And it's just common sense that you could go, oh, I could understand why these people are attacking us. But then you can't understand, without getting into a conspiracy of some sort, you can't understand why we are there. You can't understand why we continue to be there if what I'm saying is common sense. You also, what I can't understand is if you watch CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, you never see a person on there. They'll have 5 people on a panel. You never see anyone on the panel saying what I'm saying. But it's true and it's common sense, so why don't they say what I'm saying? And that's what worries me the most. It's just the same way the media doesn't cover the Libertarian Party because they say we don't get any media. Surely if a lot of Americans, I would say at least 30% of Americans are fully aware of what I'm saying and others just don't know it, then if that many people, then surely someone should represent those people whenever they have the interviews on TV. But they don't. They just say, we talk about Mubarak. Okay, he got $70 billion from the United States. Well, we had a hard time figuring out what we were going to do about Mubarak. Egypt, is anybody aware of that?
Yeah.
All right, so in Egypt, so this guy gets $70 billion from us. And then when the people revolt, the United States had a name game that they had to play. What are the people that were revolting? Are they insurgents or are they freedom fighters? And because of the way that it happened, and it was on the news and televised, they had to say, well, these guys are freedom fighters. Well, when the United States says, well, okay, these guys are freedom fighters, what does that make Mubarak? And then what does it make the people who are fighting Mubarak? Or what does it make the people who are funding Mubarak? It makes us anti-freedom fighters. So, we've given $70 billion to a guy that we say is oppressing freedom fighters. That's our foreign policy.